Okay, welcome back. Thanks for joining again. We are still deconstructing Bootstrap to see what we can learn about how to just do Sass better, Sass CSS. I'm even interested in figuring out kind of the theory behind what they've done, the decisions that they've made as they've built out their design system on the back end. And so I thought today might actually be a little bit more theoretical, but kind of interesting because I was looking for what's the next thing. I'm still kind of getting stuck on some of these, as you may have seen in a previous live stream. There's still some things where I'm like, oh yeah, let's just do a mixin, and then it turns out it's totally pointless. So why do they choose mixins over maybe just a variable? Or why do they do maps and have lists of values and names? Like what is that they're trying to do here? So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of look at a couple of examples. This is from Bootstrap's source code. The alerts.scss is what I'm looking at right here, and I thought this was kind of informative because I noticed that they were assigning their own CSS variables inside of a mixin. So already we've got this interplay of, a CSS variable holds one thing, right? You don't really, it's almost as tokened out as possible, like the style itself, like the single style, that's what the token or the CSS variable is for. And then a mixin could contain multiple. Yeah, you could just have a background, like maybe there's literally just this inside of a mixin. That's totally fine. Maybe seems a little like verbose to just do a mixin for outputting 2 lines of code, or just one. I mean, whereas you could just do a CSS variable and have that assigned to your background image as needed. So this got me thinking, what is this doing? Why would you do it this way? How do I glean that and put that into my own work as I'm working on design systems, theming out my sites and that kind of a thing? So here's what I've gathered so far. So if we look at, this is the Bootstrap 5 documentation, we can see this is the alerts component right here, and we've got a couple of we've got a bunch of different colors. This is their alert, so the idea behind an alert, something that maybe pops up or maybe gets displayed on like a form submit or something, and you may need all of these colors to indicate something. So for example, what they've done here is they have like your primary and your secondary color, of course, but then for example on the form submit you'd have success or danger or warning when there's something that's you got to communicate to the user. So this, that makes sense. It makes sense that you'd have maybe a class to communicate those things with the different colors. And what they've done here, if I go back to the code, you can kind of see this in action. So we have like the variant, and we're setting up our colors up here. So we can pass those colors in. They get set to these prefixed CSS variables, and then those can be used elsewhere because they're not actually used, as far as I can tell, they're not actually used anywhere in here. And I doubt that this function uses those. So what I believe is happening is we're setting these for a specific alert. So maybe it's the success alert. And so if I go over to, this was in the mixins folder, but this one is actually the alert.scss in the SCSS folder. So this is the actual like component, rather than just they have like mixins that have been separated and and the components are in their own folder as well. So same file name, but different area of their source code. And we can see it's doing a for loop. We're going to go through each of these in theme colors. Now this one took me a little bit to find because it's a little bit convoluted or at least passed around, and I found it finally in variables.scss. And what this is here is all of those colors that we saw in the documentation. So we have primary, secondary, success, etc. And all of those are the exact same as what you see here: primary, secondary, success. And so we know that this function is saying for each state with a value, so the state would be like success, in using those theme colors, we're going to create an alert with that specific theme, I guess, in mind. You could think of it as. So then we've got a border color, the actual color, the background, and then we've got a couple of things to take care of, other coloring, and this is where I realized that I guess what they're doing here is, yeah, you could manually by hand create all of these classes, the alert-primary, alert-secondary, but what they've done is they've condensed it into a predictable set of instructions for how to create this component, what this component contains, what it, the colors involved. They've got, a text color, they've got a background color and a border color, and they're basically simplifying that process of manually converting or writing out all of these different variations on the style or the theme of the alert. So if we hop on over, I want to check this out. So I'm starting to play around with Obsidian. This is Obsidian, super powerful. I love this tool already, and I think it's really helpful for me to kind of break down why do I use certain things, because I get that shiny syndrome where I'm like, oh, I can make classes and inheritance, and then I go crazy and I'm like, coding up tons of child classes in Python or Django or whatever, and it just makes things more complicated in the end, just because it is cool and it does work. It's just that it's not the right thing for every possible solution. So what I want to do with this is start to expand or refine my mental model for when we use mixins. What benefit do they give me, right? So so far this is what I've got. I did share this in our community, in the community tab on YouTube, if you haven't seen that, and I'm starting to kind of flesh it out a little bit. And so I wanted to go through and check this. Let's check it against Bootstrap and see if they if this kind of follows in a way that we could say, hey, yeah, you should definitely use a mixin for your alerts. So the first thing we want to look at is the code repetitive. Now, it definitely would be in this case, because we have all of these different classes, because we also, the design wants you to be able to have these different states. The success, danger, warning, those are all super important just for your product design. So those are like must-haves. Primary, secondary kind of makes sense for having some flexibility with your design. Maybe we're using alerts in other areas or on the site or whatever. And then of course we've got a couple that maybe are still a little bit more design-ish, needing some kind of design use case. I'm not really sure what you use a dark or light alert for. info, yeah, that could also still be a product kind of a thing, or again, the forms submit. So we know we need all of these colors, all of these themes. They communicate different things, and so that would definitely be really repetitive to have to go through and write in your CSS dot alert dash primary, dot alert dash secondary, and so on. And you're writing the same things over and over again. Border, color, background color. So yes, for sure, it is repetitive code. So we're going to move down this arm here to complex behavior. Now, I don't think that the alerts are complex really at all. They're pretty standard. Again, we have just those 3 colors that we need to take care of. So what I'm thinking of is we might need to add a no branch to this kind of decision tree that I'm creating. And let's put this probably at the priority check, because this is kind of where I ran into problems with the last live stream, is that I was trying to rid myself of repetitive style declarations, but it was so simple that it really didn't do anything for me. Like, it was kind of pointless, right? So if it's not complex in its behavior, now something I would consider complex is maybe like their what's it called, media queries, where you, depending on the screen size, we need to be able to shift things around. So there's some complexity there. Adding in that media query, having that mixin that Bootstrap provides is super, super useful to help reduce the complexity. And also, again, the repetitive code, because it's no fun to have to do all the media queries over and over again for each component. So I'm gonna say for right now, we're gonna send, if you're not complex, if the behavior is not complex, we're gonna send you over to a priority check. And this is partially, again, because of my failed Sass refactor last week, but is my priority for looking for another solution besides just straight up just declaring the styles? Is it because I want it to be more readable, or is it because I want it to be shorter? Am I just trying to prioritize shorter code, just to clean things up, make files smaller? Or is my priority about readability, being able to maybe have a junior dev be able to understand what in the world I've done, which isn't always possible with shorter code. So we need to decide on one of these. So in this case, if we go back to our alerts, maybe actually we'll go back to the code here. This is not super readable to a junior dev. Obviously, I'm here trying to learn it myself, and I've been doing CSS for, I don't even know, like 15, probably more than that, but professionally probably around 15 years. And so I'm still getting used to this kind of a thing. So I don't think this is a prioritization for necessarily readability. I do think it's going to be a prioritization of, again, reducing and shortening the code. But at the same time, let's see. That's a good question. It's definitely not readable. I mean, it is readable, but it's different than what you would be used to. Obviously, if you're a Sass expert, I'm not sure why you're even here on this video, but thank you for coming, and let me know where I'm going wrong here. But it does take a little extra effort, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So the priority here is going to be shortening up the code so that when we're over here, let's see. Yeah, when we're over here in our styles, I'll just go over to, let's see. Yeah, here's that failed refactor there. But this include statement is a lot shorter, even than just displaying these two simple styles over and over again, right? And again, the more complex this part is, or the more complex, or at least long, like if there were like 6 more styles here, this one single line does clean up quite a bit. And so that could also technically improve the readability, because the worst thing you'd have to do if you're trying to really figure out what this is you just go in here and Control Shift F to find it in all of the source code and look for where is this defined right up here. So oh yeah, it's this stuff. So let's go back here to our little map. So with the alerts, it is for shorter code, and so we, at least for right now, what I've done is I send you straight over to this little box that says you should have a good reason or multiple lines that shortens that code. So we could probably split this one apart. Yeah, so what's our good reason then to go for a mixin in this case? Because it's not super complex, but it is holding a lot of information. We could say, reusability, like kind of like what I was saying over here in here. I mean, I guess you could make a case that this is an okay, include, just if this was legitimate styles. If this one line is included multiple times, or even, so this is the Bootstrap breakpoint that I was talking about, the media queries for when the size of the screen gets to this amount of pixels or this amount, and we want to be able to define different styles at those times. This is a really, really good example of when that reusability comes into play, where it's so much easier to just throw this in. I don't have to worry about the numbers specifically, because this little indicator already maps to Bootstrap's grid system of they've got their variables already defined, that XL is past 1400 or whatever it is, 1400 pixels, somewhere around there. LG is up to 1200. I can't remember exactly, but you don't have to remember this as a developer. You don't have to be like, oh, is it 768 when it's the min width, or is it 768 when it's the max width, because it's the 767 if it's the other one, so you don't have that weird 1 pixel. If you know what I'm talking about, then give me a wave icon and I'll know what that is in the chat. But it's a mess when you have to remember all of the breakpoints that you use. So this is a great example of reusability. And so I think that is a really good reason to have a mixin, is for that reusability. A junior dev could easily just, understand what that is as they kind of look into where it's declared and use that and use that throughout the code, and get in the habit of that. I don't see that as being much of a problem. And then let's see, should have a good reason or multiple lines that shortens the code. So maybe it's like, what do I want to say? Because it is also tough, because sometimes you're like, if you're doing it the hard manual way, where you've like, oh yeah, I've declared styles just like this before. I need to grab those and copy them, paste them in. You don't want to miss something, or so So it's kind of just, I guess it's like packaged is maybe the word. I'm not really sure. Packaged code. Yeah, like I guess what I'm trying to say is that it comes complete, maybe. It's packaged, complete code, works the way it's supposed to. Like it's you're taking it from here and putting it here, and it's still the same. Yeah, I don't know, with packaged code, that maybe that makes sense. And I do think, yeah, because you know what, yeah, I still think that's a really good reason. So we have the reusability. We're gonna say go for it. Put it in a mixin, and then packaged and complete code would probably also be a yes. Go for it. Um, hmm. So far it's kind of like we've got a lot of really just a couple of different reasons for why you would want to mix in, but why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want a mix in, it, even if your priority is shorter code? So like, um, hmm, that's a good question actually. If you're trying to shorten up your code, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you use it? Um, at least in my failed refactor, the reason why we didn't like this was because it was kind of pointless. Whoops, what did I do? And yeah, so I was just repeating it for just these two styles, and it just didn't feel like. Yeah, because I guess there's the reason why I'm conflicted with this is because it's like, well, part of it is because the readability is gone, and so even though it's shorter, so like these two are yet again in conflict with each other, um, and so if you don't want shorter code, then you're prioritizing readability probably. um, anyway, that might be something that we can explore later, but I do think there is something to this where here's some good reasons. This reusability factor, this packaged or complete code, I guess these are kind of the same. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure here. So if we go back to our alerts, we know that it's simple behavior, but it is creating things in a much more efficient way. It is shorter code, it is reusable, it is packaged in a way that you can't mess it up really. I mean, because the if we go back here to this, I mean, it's creating the class for you as far as I can tell. Yeah, because it kind of creates this alert dash primary, alert dash warning. It creates that for you. So yeah, it's taking that off of your hands. So maybe that is another reason, is actually not necessarily packaged like in the sense of reusability, because I do think that these are kind of similar. I'm going to combine these actually. Packaged and complete code as reusable. But also in the case of alerts, it has already it's taken on the creation for you. So generated code. I'll put like done for you kind of a thing. Think alert dash variant classes. Okay. I don't know. I feel like that maybe makes a little bit more sense too. This already kind of came together. And then if it's generating code for you, then that would be a good reason to have a mixin, because then you don't have to. You just have to use the classes. You didn't have to write out every single one. And that is shorter code for us. Okay. Well, yeah, I hope this was helpful to kind of go through the theory behind this. I do really like this. This kind of helps me map out my reasoning for why I go for different types of functions or technology or whatever. So yeah, let me know if this is helpful for you, because I kind of want to keep exploring this and see what else we can map from Bootstrap, and kind of understand why they made those choices that they did. Like, why is it, we've got this, but why do we have these? Like, why do we have this CSS token structure? And also, what does this do? When are they breaking things down into kind of like grouped up? Like we've got these alert variants, so that's kind of a clear use case. But why else? Why do they go with certain theme colors? It's just, there's just so much to Bootstrap, and I think it's a great way for us to learn about design systems, why we construct the back end this way, and what it allows us to do to help assist the design system as well. Where can we cut out some of the manual stuff? Where can we cut out the hard to repeat stuff as well? Sometimes CSS gets that way. It gets overloaded, I guess. So sometimes I feel like I'm overriding so much of, especially when you use a framework like this, you override so much, and I just feel like it's a total waste of all of the thinking that has gone into all the behind the scenes. And so even if we don't get rid of Bootstrap and we do keep trying to use this framework, you don't have to sit there and reinvent everything over and over again. So yeah, I just really like to understand the thinking behind this, because then it allows me to plug into that thinking and use their framework for my framework, for my theme. And yeah, I feel like that's pretty powerful. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and